is there a scientific way to figure out what it means to be gay? Like, meaning, there is a scientific way to say what is it to be a man, right? Scientific. I'm born with a dangling, right?
Yeah.
There is a scientific, I think that's what they call it, right?
Somebody clip that, please.
Yeah. Somebody is going to... That one's done.
There's a stem on the apple.
Yeah.
That is funny.
A girl is born with a vagina, okay,
Right.
like that movie, what was it, Kindergarten Cop? Hey, when he tells Arnold Schwarzenegger, he says what? He says, boys have penises and girls have vaginas, right? Okay. That is a scientific way. And we can even go deeper to look at the chromosome count to say this. Is there a scientific way of defining what it is to be gay? Or do we all just have to say, well, you said you've been gay since you were a kid, so we have to believe it. Do you know what I'm asking, Tom? Is there a scientific way to say, based on your chromosome count and where you're at, you're gay?
I haven't seen anything like that. On my end, it's something that I would foresee being very hard to determine, because people go through these life experiences and changes. You see it all the time where someone will be like, 55 and say, you know what? I'm really gay, and then they start liking men. And it's like, how do you really gauge, how do you quantify that experience to be able to make a determination on it?
You know who you see that a lot with too, truthfully, in my experience? I've seen a lot of women who go through life. They have a family, they're married, they have kids, and then at 50, they're lesbian, which is, and the reason that this is an interesting point that I know you brought up a couple of times, Pat, I think is because if you look at the stuff like with Bill Maher that we talked about before, the numbers are exploding. If you look at the numbers of when you talk about trans, how many people who are legitimately have, body dysphoria or have all of these issues, those are also ballooning. So there has to be a way to gauge like what is real, what is happening in someone's body versus what is societally induced in someone, particularly with respect to, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm this. It's you can't just treat people based off nothing. Right? They're now getting drugs and stuff. It has to be grounded in some science here.
Have I told you the story about the gay bar we went to in Nashville, Tennessee? I know you don't know the story, but do you know the story? Okay. So I'm in the Army, and one of our guys, his name is Chip, he says, when you're ready, I want to take you to the best underground club in all of Nashville. I'm like, bro, I'm ready. I've gone to all the clubs. I've gone to Vegas. Trust me, I'm ready. He says, no, you're not. I'm telling you, I've been to a lot of crazy clubs. I guarantee you've never been to a crazy club like this. I said, dude, I'm from LA. He says, okay, let's see. Anyways, 3 months later, he's like the guy that's been there longer than us. He takes me and this other guy, Jeff, to this club. We go to this club. It's Studio 54 on steroids. And by the way, when I tell you Studio 50, if you've seen the movie where people are going at it on the floor, they're doing this over here, they're doing that, they're doing this, trans, drags, all of it is going on at this club, okay? And there's a couple thousand people there. It's bonkers how crazy this club was. So we go in. We go in, and obviously, gay men will come up to you and say, hey, handsome, hey, this, hey, that. You're like, you know what?
Deep voice.
Yeah, it's flirting in their own way. And then there's those that don't have the deep voice, and they talk to you as well, right? Like, all right, cool. So I'm like, listen, man, I'm just here for the girls. And it was great because girls would go there to not be bothered.
Right.
Because they just want to be left alone. Well, this allowed us to go there. And if they change their minds by 11:30, there's an option. Okay? It's kind of... They're like, okay, cool. We'll go there.
Oh, my gosh. There's plenty that have that same outlook. Right. I assure you.
So I'm like, you know what? What a brilliant strategy by this guy. So I'm like, why does this guy always around these beautiful girls? Anyways, here's what happened on the drive home. One of our guys goes to the bathroom, and this guy approaches him, and he says, are you gay? He says, no, I'm straight. He says, you ever been with a man before? He says, no. He says, how do you know you're straight if you've never been with a man before? Okay. And in the 45-minute drive back from Nashville to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, this guy was struggling with that question.
Really?
And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? He's supposed to do that. That's kind of like how we flirt with girls. We use our, the line from Top Gun. He says, I don't date pilots. Well, if the government can trust me, why can't you? Right? All these lines are good lines. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm listening to the lines. I'm like, dude, that's his pickup line to convert straight guys. He's like, no, but what if he's right? I'm like,
wow.
you don't understand what you're doing, bro, right now. You're going to go in a very bad place here.
It's going down the rabbit hole.
Dude, until we're married, we're all in sales.
Guess what rabbit hole he ended up going to? To the rabbit hole to find out for himself.
Oh.
I'm not even kidding with you. So he goes back.
Sounds like more than a rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, it is. Well, he goes back and he fully wants to find out. And then, anyways, I don't want to go into because some of the people that will listen will know who I'm talking about. He ends up saying, no, I'm not. I'm straight, okay? But he full-blown went everywhere, okay?
He was all in.
I'm like, did you really have to do this to go there? He said, well, yes. So the reason why I asked that question is because I think it's uncomfortable to talk about this today because I know what's going to happen after this podcast today. I'm going to get emails. Why are you even doing this? Stick to the business. Stick to that. It's okay, you're talking politics. Why are you touching this? You know these guys are going to come and they're going to do that and they're going to do this. I'm asking a simple question. If you're saying 75%, 25% because of life, 75% they were born that way, I'd love to know the scientific formula on what categorizes a person to be gay. And then I think it's like, dude, what do you want to say? That person based on that. Or it's just a choice an individual is making that later on, a lot of it could have been persuasion by somebody else. Because from my experiences, I've been to many different places and I've been around straights, gays, bis, all of this stuff. And I understand what the approach of trying to convert and baptize the other individual to get them to think. So my question is more, I would love the research to know exactly what that number is. And I would love for scientists who are Republican and Democrat to work together, fund the budget to find out exactly what needs to be the scientific formula for us to say people are born gay. I'd be so curious to know that.
I think that that's something under the wheelhouse that we can definitely, deep dive into as an organization. We're definitely got nonprofit, for the IRS. So we're definitely seeking large funding to be able to, pull things out and accomplish things like this. Because I think that there is a gray area that, isn't being investigated. Yeah. And that's something that, GAG could definitely look into because it goes under the grooming wheelhouse.
You know what I would want to know? I would want to know if you can for a fact get to the bottom of it and fund this with scientists. I'd love for your organization to come back and tell us how much that would cost. Okay?
You got it.
Yeah, I would love for you to come back and say, we can fund it with this scientist, that scientist, and I want it to be both sides because I don't want it to be any bias. They're all Republicans or they're all Democrats or they're all this. I want it to be people that are for the vaccination, they're not for the vaccination. I don't want all of them to be, well, the vax wasn't a good thing you took, or I don't want all of them to be, you should have taken a vax for COVID. Because, vax became political, this LGBT is political, everything is now political.
Of course, yeah.
If you tell me how much it would cost to find out to get to the bottom of it, I don't know. Maybe I'll either contribute or we'll go help you raise the funds. But I'm really, really curious. Yeah. And what I'm even more curious about, has this study ever been done? Rob, can you even pull it up? Like, what would be the word, by the way, to even search for it? Is it gene? Is it chromosome? What would it be?
I feel like it would be something like in your brain activity would probably be like where you would want to target, certain receptors, I would assume, if you were going to gauge. Because at the end of the day, it's based on your attraction, right?
PBS. So pull up that one. Let's see what PBS says. Can you pull that up? There is no gay gene. There is no straight gene. Sexuality is just complex. Study confirms. Can you zoom in a little bit? So we obviously know this is PBS, so we know what side they're going to be leaning to. There's no single gene possibility to be. The first thing you need to know about the largest genetic investigation of sexuality ever, which was published Thursday in Science, the study of nearly 500,000 people closest the door on the debate around the existence of the so-called gay gene, okay? In its stead, the report finds that human DNA cannot predict who is gay or heterosexual. Sexuality cannot be pinned down by biology, psychology, or life experiences. This study or others shows because human sexual attraction is decided by all these factors. This is not a first study exploring the genetics of same-sex behavior, but the previous study were small and underpowered. The study's co-author and genetics research fellow at the Broad Institute and Mass General Hospital on Wednesday, just to give you a sense of the scale of our data, this is approximately 100 times bigger than any previous study on the topic. The study shows that the genes play a small and limited role in determining sexuality. Genetic heritability all of the information stored in our genes and passed between generations can explain 8 to 25% of why people have same-sex relation based on study results. Are they going to give it to us or no? Can track down a single gene. Keep going down. Let's see if there's like points, what they're going to say. So word keep in mind. Of course, ethical concerns. Yeah, I don't know. If I know what physically I can say somebody is straight, somebody is a man, or somebody is a woman. I'm not talking about straight or gay. I'm talking about what is a man and what is a woman, okay? We can physically look at somebody when they're born, when your baby is born, they will say, you have a boy, okay? And when we see the picture, they'll say, this is a boy because of, you see the picture, there's a dangling, right? Or this is a girl, right? And you go, you got a girl, you got this, okay, great. No, oh, it's a boy, phenomenal, you celebrate. But is there a way to say, your kid's going to be gay because his chromosomes number is this, and test is this is what's going to happen? Great, let's celebrate it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's going to be a really hard thing to accomplish, because I did read a study like through the National Library of Medicine that kind of reinforces a little bit here that there are many influences that can help determine someone's sexuality. And I think that would probably be most accurate, that sexuality isn't just something that is so binary that, oh, you can only be straight and you will always be straight. I think we have enough, people in the world that have changed that, like we spoke about. But when it comes down to like...
But why though?
Why?
Well, why though? So let's go to that. So a 55-year-old man is married, 2 kids, all of a sudden says, I'm gay, okay? We had a very, like you talked about earlier, right? Okay, we had a very good friend, dropped that gorgeous girl, married to a very famous guy in L.A. who's done very well, billionaire, money guy. All of a sudden, one day, she's like, "Nah, I'm not. I'm lesbian. I like women." She left her husband with 2 kids and went and got with another girl, and they got married, and now she's lesbian, right? Okay, but what causes that? What causes a 55-year-old who has been married with kids, like the movie Whale, right? You saw the movie Whale. I don't know if you've seen the movie Whale or not, with the guy that didn't he just win the Oscar?
Brandon Fraser,
right? Brandon Fraser. That he was a married guy with a daughter, and when she's 8 or 9 years old, he's a teacher. He falls in love with a student who's 23. He leaves the wife and a daughter to go be with him, and then the guy he falls in love with ends up having AIDS. He dies, and then later on, he eats so much and he kills himself right in front of the daughter. This whole story, I don't know if you've seen this story.
No.
Depressing story at the highest level. Don't recommend watching it. Brandon Fraser crushed the acting, but the storyline makes 0 sense on how depressing of a story this is, right? But why does a 55-year-old man all of a sudden choose to be gay?
I wouldn't have the answer to that. I mean, I feel like the biggest proponent, if you wanted to take a guess on that, is social influence, is what is going to groom someone into behaving or seeing something in a different light. I would be a fool to say that, when you idolize something, that people don't want what you're idolizing. And so that's marketing. And so I would argue that it would, based on that person's individual life experiences that brought them to that decision. I know many of women that face like sexual assault, and that is a reason why that they go down the journey of being lesbian.
That's a pretty dramatic event, though.
It is, and so
but it's not genetics.
No, but yeah. it would be a proponent of that mental state and changing your mental outlook because of what happened to you.
But you see, I don't have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. Then that to me becomes a religion. You change your religion is what you did. Meaning, there's a lot of people that are atheists. At 55-year-old, they become Christians. Well, why'd you become a Christian, right? You read about C.S. Lewis. I don't know if you know who C.S. Lewis is, with the book Mere Christianity or Chronicles of Narnia. They made a book about this guy. It's a phenomenal movie, the movie they made about him. Divorce Letters. I think he's got all these great books that he wrote, right? The Great Divorce. He's got all these things that he wrote. Screwtape Letters, if you've read it. It's a phenomenal book, Screwtape Letters. This guy was an atheist, Oxford. Then he becomes a Christian. You're a pretty smart guy. What happened? How do you change? Yeah, I joined a faith and I found God. How do some of these boxers, I was born a Christian, now I'm a Muslim. What happened? Well, a life-changing event happened, right? That's a religion. That's not genetics. That's not how you were born. I am born a man, okay? But people influence me to say, wow, I like that guy. He asked the questions, he converted me, right? That is a religion I'm joining, but it's not how I'm born. That's the question I'm putting out there.
Right.
Makes sense?
And would you argue then that straight would be a religion too?
No. To me, being born a man, okay, is gay gender? Is gay a gender?
No.
What is gay?
Gay is a sexuality.
Gay
and
is
so straight would also be a sexuality. Man and woman are genders. So male and female,
but
man and woman.
On the application, you know how I put, male, female, now there's like other, this, that?
No. So it's not like male, female, straight, gay. It's male, female. Those are your two binary genders.
Yep.
And that's the way I see it. And then you have these people that are going to determine their sexual orientation. And now from there, you're going to take someone that could be a man or could be a woman, and they could be lesbian or straight or gay. And so I could definitely, see the lens that, if we wanted to claim sexuality as some sort of religion, some sort of belief, it would have to be blanketed across everyone.
Yeah, but I'll show you here. Like these are, I'm giving you applications where they say, what is your gender? And then it says female, male, trans, female to male to female, intersex, other, so, and then you have the sexual orientation, which you're talking about.
Which
like
is
gay.
completely different
Totally
than trans. Yeah.
Okay, totally get it. So you're saying gay is a religion, then straight is also religion.
Yeah, because they're both sexual. If we're going to paint gay as being a religion, then I feel like because I'm the guy that you would have to flip it the same way on the other coin. And if gay is a religion, then so is straight. Because then what you're arguing for gay, you can also argue for straight. And it has to be same on both ways for it to be factual.
Right. I can go to a place right now that would really get me in trouble right now if I wanted to go there. Maybe we can talk offline when I bring up my thoughts on this here. But to me, an event has to happen for me to become gay. An event doesn't have to happen for me to be straight. An event has to happen for me to be gay, right? A crisis, a life-changing event, a person I meet, a conversation, a groomer, a person that does something for me to question myself to say, maybe I am, and I don't know. And then I shift. Versus, I want to know naturally, are there symptoms and genetics or studies that I can say, this person's going to have signs of being gay. That's what I want to know. Because, if the statement, specifically going back to the statement of, I was born this way, cool. I actually want to do studies to see what that means. People say I was born this way.
So that's so interesting because this trans movement definitely abolishes that I was born this way mentality, and that's why I argue like the LGBT community is very full of a lot of contradictions. Because if you're born this way, if you're born gay, then why are people born in the wrong body? And it's like it's to me, I'm very logically consistent with the statements that I make and making sure that they are the same on both sides of that coin. And I think that that's why you're seeing a big shift in people saying things like LGB without the T. Gays against groomers, we definitely include the T. We just don't think that this is something for children to be influenced by, but consenting adults is different.
Yeah, this is we went through a whole different rabbit hole. Yeah. We just went right. And trust me.
It was interesting,
Frank, trust me when I tell you this. Off camera, at 11:30 at night, having a cigar, this conversation gets a lot more comfortable when you're talking to home team and everybody is safe.
Definitely.
Than a place like this, because in a society like today, we have to be forced to think a certain way that somebody wants to tell us to believe. And I have a very hard time with that. I got kicked out of Bible study from 7 to 10 years old because I would say, how the hell if you tell me God exists and we just got bombed 167 times, explain to me how God exists and all these people died. So I was kicked out of Bible study. They wouldn't even send me back. They would tell my mom and dad, your son doesn't need to be in class because he questions everything in the Bible. So they finally said, your son can't come to Sunday school. So I've been that guy my entire life to question because I'm curious. If I'm born this way, prove it to me. I will trust science from both sides, not just PBS, not just Fox. I want to Pew Research, Gallup, those who supported the vax, those who didn't support the vax, those who voted for Republican, those who voted for Democrat, scientists. Let's put some money in there, get to work and argue it and tell us. You know what? Here's what happens. 99.8% of people who become gay were converted because somebody groomed them. Cool. Or no, there's 12% that are born this way. Fine. Now we have the science to go based off of that rather than all these other things that are being forced down our throat.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.